Good evening. I'm Celeste Koupalides. I'm the director here at the Art Gallery of Peterborough, and I welcome you here to the gallery, and it's all about artists. The artwork that's surrounding me are all the artworks that are up for auction, that it's closing tonight on November 7th. It's been an exciting 2 weeks to see all the action online, and of course we're very excited that our community has responded to this change in plans given the pandemic. It's in times like these that we know that our community and ourselves individually look to the arts to find some comfort. You know, our favorite films, we look to our favorite music and our artwork. So it's wonderful to be able to highlight the amazing work that our artists do in this community. We are a community that is extremely rich in the creative sector with visual arts, dance, music, theater, you name it. You can see online just how many people are doing their own art projects right now as a way to deal with the pandemic. We know that our audience, our membership here at the AGP have really missed coming into our receptions, our gatherings, our programs. So it's been a real pleasure to gather these works and to offer them online for our auction. Usually this is a major event in the fall season. It's all about art. This year we've been able to pivot it. So with the assistance of our remarkable sponsors, 100% of the winning bid is going to our artists. And that's a wonderful thing to see. So, and very rewarding to know that we're helping our artists deal with these very challenging times. So I want to thank our sponsors and all of our in-kind supporters who are helping us actually present this fabulous auction. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm George Rapole, Investment Advisor with BMO Private Wealth Peterborough. I want to welcome you to the Art Gallery of Peterborough's online auction, where this year it's all about the artists. This year has seen its fair share of challenges, and I am thrilled to be the presenting sponsor for this great event.
I'm here today at the Art Gallery, in the Art Gallery store, with Lisa Martini-Dunk, who's got this fabulous piece for the auction. Lisa, can you tell me about the piece, what the piece is called, the size of it, the medium?
Well, so the piece is called Here Comes the Circus. The medium is scratchboard. If you're not familiar with scratchboard, it's a board that has a layer of white clay, black Indian ink. You scratch the surface to reveal white, so you end up with a black and white image. The color comes at the very end, right?
And I was just going to ask, like, how do you then color this up? How?
It's painted with transparent ink,
Okay.
right, pigment. The background, for the first time, I actually just drawed it in with white chalk because I didn't want it to fight with the foreground.
Right.
Right.
So this layer here is a much more subtle layer than what you've scratched away.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Because of the shortness of it.
Yeah, beautiful.
I just really wanted the focus to be on these people just walking all over the place. The piece is 48 inches by 11 inches. The whole purpose behind this piece is COVID obviously inspired this piece. When we first locked down, everybody didn't know what to do, so they would go out for walks. And for me, it felt like Here Comes the Circus, because you would see these crazy people with like baby buggies running on a rollerblade with a dog, people carrying their canoes with their dogs in safety jackets. And of course I was part of it because my dogs would be losing it on all these people, rollerbladers, everything. And they weren't self-distancing.
Right.
Being human, we are very social and we need to be with each other.
Absolutely.
And that just proves it to me even more when I saw all this, but it just felt like, what am I going to see tomorrow? Like what interesting person or bicycle or whatever. Because I live in East City and I live right on Maria Street, depending where you come from. And I have a trail right in front of my house. So every day you would just see these incredible
scenes of people interacting past each other.
It's just essentially I'm just trying to show that we are social.
Yes.
regardless, even the government says, because we have COVID, we need to sell certificates, and it's hard for us.
Yes, it is.
It's very hard.
It is. So this is a beautiful local scene of Peterborough. This is the trail, then
Yes.
where you're depicting. Right,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Because
Wonderful.
take
I
pictures.
love the portages there. It's we had a couple of guys. We live on over in the West End, and we had a couple of canoers portaging all the way to the. It's like, wow, that's a walk with a canoe. So
Totally.
there's some dedicated people. It's wonderful, wonderful.
We at Ashburnham Realty are really excited to be part of this event again this year. To be honest, one of the great bright spots of the last 6 or 8 months is to see how, whether it be a business or an organization like this, it's pivoted to do something that's new and creative. So this pivoting to online and the idea of the fact that we can now order from St. Verona's or Ashburnham Ale House and create our own at-home art gallery auction is such a great thing, and I'm very excited to be part of it. And I'll be sitting there with my St. Verona's wine and dinner, enjoying it.
I'm here with Molly Moldovan. Molly's got this beautiful piece that she's putting into the auction. So Molly, tell me, what's the name of this piece? How large is it? What medium is it? Where did your inspiration come from? What motivated you to do this?
It's part of a series called Turbulent Heart. The turbulence is within my heart, and it relates to the world that we're living in at this time,
Which is pretty turbulent right now.
which is
Yeah.
extremely turbulent. This piece is acrylic on birch panel, and it's a mixture of two of my current styles and the styles in which I work. The background largely is applied with my hands, so I'm really getting into it, and I'm mixing the color in actually on the substrate, so it's almost like a finger painting. And the foreground, the more impasto elements are done with palette knife. And what you can see here are cracks, which can be taken as cracks in the firmament. It can be taken metaphorically, it can be taken literally, and our world is broken. Our world has cracks, big ones, that we don't necessarily like what is coming up through the cracks. However, this element, which is so knotted and full of angst and turbulence, also has lighter pieces to it, lighter elements to it, and light surrounding it and coming through it, which speak to hope. So the piece speaks to living with what is in the hope of what will be.
Yes. Wonderful. So, Molly, you said that this is one of a series. Can you talk to that a little more?
Well, the series are mostly acrylic on canvas. Some of them incorporate gold leaf. Those are some of the more hopeful pieces.
Okay. More expensive pieces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of which have sold and some of which are still available.
Okay. And where can people find those then?
You can find my website, mollymoldovan.com, or you can find me on Instagram, Molly Moldovan Studio.
I'm here today in the beautiful grounds overlooking Little Lake. Sort of one of the art galleries sort of enjoy this view every day, and we're under the sort of the dappled light of the trees, which was perfect for this beautiful piece that Pia Christensen has is displaying for the auction. So Pia, welcome. Tell us about this piece.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, this is the last of a series I did. Well, this is the third in the series, I should say, not the last, because there will be more.
I hope so. It's beautiful. It's
inspired.
Beautiful.
It's inspired. It was probably walking my dog just up along the river where we live and coming across a crabapple tree and taking note of just the effects of the light. And this is an area I explore in my painting quite a bit. Just the effect of the dappled light coming through, and
it's beautiful, the layers where you've got these subtle colours that are being sort of burnt out by the light here, versus the strength of the colours in the foreground. Yeah, absolutely.
well, it's exactly what you're saying. It's layers,
Yes.
and that's the technique I'm using for this. They're very, very thin layers of paint that I apply in successive opaque and transparent layers. This is what I'm able to capture, a kind of a luminous quality to the work. And regardless of the subject matter I'm painting, I do a lot of industrial landscape, I do a lot of urban landscape, but I do a lot of just the natural light, and I'm intrigued by it and the effects of light. And in this case, just again, it's something that I find rather meditative, rather calming. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm here today with Linz Hunt. Linz, tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
I am from Peterborough, Matt. I work at Royal LePage Frank Real Estate, Electric City Brokerage. I'm the broker of record there. And I was born and raised in Peterborough. I lived in Toronto for a bit, and then I moved home quite a while ago now. Yeah.
And Linz is one of our gold sponsors, so we're very happy and excited to have Linz back on board. Linz, you've been sponsoring this for a number of years now, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't really know how many years, but it's been quite a few. I'm looking to Celeste, 4 years, yeah, so about 4. I've been an attendee longer, but definitely, yeah.
And so, obviously, you keep coming back. It's important to you. Why?
I think the gala itself, I think, is a really fun night. I look forward to it every year, and this year will obviously be different. But I think as someone who moves people into the community and so on, I have a lot of contacts and clients and so on that are in the arts community, and I think for a city to really be cultural and a special place and have some soul to it, I think the arts community is a vital component of that, and I think it's really important that we sustain that. So doing a small contribution to this every year is a great way to contribute.
Now, one of the big changes this year is obviously the use of iGuide. We're not going to be at the gala, so tell us about the iGuide. Doug's obviously come and shot the space with iGuide, but you tell us more about iGuide, please.
Yeah, so I've been using iGuide technology for, I think, coming on 7 years. I was one of the early adapters to it in our area, and it's truly phenomenal. I use it on all of my listings. It gives a buyer for a home basically a virtual experience of the house from their own computer or phone. So in terms of a listing, especially with COVID, people were able to kind of do their due diligence on a house before they had to decide whether it was worth going and doing an in-person viewing, and they could really weed out things that were not going to suit their needs. So in this case, we can all sit from our homes, look at what Doug's going to provide for all the artwork and the exhibit, and decide, whether you're going to come in and look at it in person or whether you're pretty satisfied with what you see on screen. Yeah, but it's a great technology. Yeah.
I'm Doug Logan, the owner of Fine Homes Photography. Our business generally provides property photography, 3D scans, and floor plans for real estate. I was given the opportunity to work in the Art Gallery of Peterborough today to provide a virtual tour and 3D scan of the gallery exhibit and auction spaces, which I thought was a great tool and a great use of this technology to allow buyers of art to view the gallery exhibits virtually from the comforts and safety of their own home. And hopefully this will allow people to find some art that they like and place a bid online.
tonight with Marilyn Gosling, who is obviously one of the artists featured in the online auction. So Marilyn, tell me, what is the piece called? How large is it?
I think it's 24 by 30, and it's a hammock hanging off some trees that are at the shoreline of Stony Lake.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah. It's oil on canvas, it's original, and I just finished it.
Okay. Can you talk to me about sort of how artists, or how you are surviving, working in this COVID environment? Because it must be very difficult, and this is part of the reason why the gallery are changing the way we're doing things this year, where 100% of the proceeds are going back to the artists to try and support the arts community as much as we can.
Which is so amazing.
Good. Yeah.
I think it's really difficult for so many people in every occupation, but you can imagine artists are already in an unconventional world. It forces you to be extra resourceful. It's not easy, for sure. Mm-hmm. But there's solutions. I was thinking about this story I wanted to mention about Emily Carr, because I've been reading a lot. And I was thinking about the way she used to paint. She used to go into a forest and she would sit and she couldn't hear anything. You wouldn't see anything or hear anything. And then after you sit there for a while, time passes, you notice movements, you hear sounds, rustling. And I was thinking it's kind of a good metaphor for how we are in COVID, because you can find beauty in the unfamiliar. You go there, you have to sit with it for a while. Obviously, you have to struggle through this time, and you find beauty, and you record that beauty. So the whole purpose of art is to make a space beautiful. It has a lot of cultural implications, but I think ultimately the purpose of art is to help the artist live. And we have to keep creating, and that's the bottom line. So it's amazing that the Art Gallery of Peterborough is doing this. And there's a lot of, I think there is support out there for the arts. So, but it's a challenge for everybody, for musicians, and especially I think for people that do, two-dimensional work. So if you can, as you know, I'm not technically inclined, and I don't like to be. It sort of forces us to look at the computer and say, how can I market my work online? Galleries are closed, shows are canceled. How do we do that? We can't really open our doors for people coming in. There's a lot of restrictions and limitations, which makes total sense from a safety perspective. But it's so important for artists to get feedback on their work.
So, talk to me some more about the painting then.
I don't know the technical way to describe how I work, but I work wet in wet. That makes sense. I work with straight oil paints. I started oil painting. I switched over from watercolor to oil around the time my daughter was born, which was probably not a great idea because oils are very toxic, and so there's turpentine and all that. Yeah, and that sort of helped determine my style, because I didn't want to have cobalt dryers and fixatives or anything to mix with my paints. They're toxic enough on their own, but I learned to just work wet in wet with my paint, and I love the things that happen with that. So the first thing that I do is I put a ground, which is like a color, on a canvas. Okay. So in this case, the ground is this Modigliani ochre. It's an ochre color, a kind of a peachy ochre color in the background, or what some artists might refer to as a flesh tint. Right. And a lot of paintings that I've done before were always on an Indian orange ground. And it makes, because you're working wet and wet, you're dragging the color of the ground underneath your paint. It's mixing in with the paint. Okay. So when I do a lot of winter paintings with that orange ground and I'm dragging white and blue shadows over the snow, it's picking it up and it's like lit from underneath. Yep. It's fantastic to see what paint can do. And they're just recipes that you mix together to make blocks of color in a space beautiful. I'm more attracted to isolation and things that are, like, this is a very peaceful scene. Obviously it's a hammock, it's inviting you, and it's a very natural, it's a very natural shoreline. Oh, it's a gorgeous place. It's interweaving of branches, which I love.
And you do that very well, with the sky sort of grinning through these branches.
Yeah, I love negative spaces and shapes that happen, and especially when you have a veil of trees. And remember, I grew up in the countryside north, And so I was always around forests. I love trees most of all. I love their lines and the way they intersect. And so,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful. Hi again, everyone. I'm here on the gallery ramp with Christy Haldane. Tell us about sort of your process. I wanted to sort of show people this piece that's hanging because there is a sort of a process behind your art, right? So please.
For sure. So this piece is indicative of my work. The rocks I actually harvested from Burley Falls during a summer swim. So we were out swimming, so I grabbed a couple of rocks. And then this is reclaimed concrete, not from the lock system, but from my own space, but it is reclaimed. So I like to use a lot of reclaimed materials and a lot of found materials. The glass is also recycled, so it's really a piece that is about this area. It's about the Trent Severn Waterway. It's about living in this area where we're so close to nature, but we're also we play a role in controlling nature. Yeah, I think the reason I ended up in this area actually was because of Burley Falls. Like, I found it so beautiful. So this piece is definitely close to my heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you have your own glass kiln.
Yep.
Correct?
Yeah.
So you tell us about the how you get the glass into the stones.
So this is a bit different. The work that's in the auction is kind of the work that represents me as an artist locally, and I create with recycled glass. I create a block of glass, and then I cut the rock and I polish them both down so that both pieces are flat, and then I glue them together with an ultraviolet glue. So it's kind of technical in a way, and then I carve it back so that the glass mimics the rock.
And the piece that's in the auction is, can you give us the dimensions of the piece?
It's 12 inches by 47 inches and probably about 4 inches off the wall.
And there's more of the series of rocks, is there? Is there
Yeah.
a series of 5?
There's eight altogether.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
So this is a smaller version, and then I have lone rocks, and then I have...
Now, speaking of smaller versions, you also have your jewellery series in the gallery store here. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm wearing one today.
Beautiful. So, yes, Christy's work is available at the gallery store as well.
Hi, my name is Joe Grant from LLF Lawyers. It's great to be here today surrounded by all this fantastic art. LLF Lawyers has been a proud supporter of the Art Gallery of Peterborough and the It's All About Art event. And we're very proud and excited to be part of this event. It's all about the artists. Good luck to all the bidders. Congratulations to the Art Gallery of Peterborough for this fantastic event. And thank you to all our artists.
Welcome, Christiana. Can you tell me what this piece is called, how you make this, what your inspiration behind all of this is, please?
Sure. Well, it's actually untitled, but it's part of a group of wall hangings that I did that were studies kind of black and white. I'm a felt maker, so I basically make textile from wool, and I use fine merino. I get it in roving form. I pull out tufts of wool off the end of the roving. I lay it in layers, and through adding water and agitation, the fibers form together and make textile. So I'm making the textile by hand. And this one is a lot of layers in it. So there's layers of silk that's been hand painted with sumi ink, inlaid pre-felts.
Wow.
Lots and lots of layers, all felted together.
Okay. And what inspired you to sort of create this particular piece? Is it?
Just really playing with form and color. I wanted to add three-dimensional element to it. So this piece along here kind of looks like barnacles.
Yes.
That's kind of done making a separate piece of felt, only felting it to a certain stage, and then felting it to the final piece. So I was playing with 3 dimension in the piece, and yeah, just lots of layers of silk and wool.
Wonderful. And the size of the piece, how do you know sort of how large this is?
The dimensions of
Yes.
it, I don't totally off the top of my head,
Okay.
but it's about 3 feet by 2 feet.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you start in this? How long have you been sort of a textile artist? Like, well, what is your background?
Well, my background's actually in education, and I'm a degree in women's studies and international development from Trent. I'm a certified teacher, I really got into felt making about 8 years ago. I moved to Western Australia with my partner and our kids for a year, and I kind of I couldn't work for that year formally, and so I joined a felting guild in Western Australia and just fell in love with the medium and what I could do with it. So, and then it's been a full-time, I have a full-time studio practice in Lakefield.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Excellent.
Hi, my name is Bill Lett from Lett Architects. We are so pleased and proud to be sponsors for tonight's event. It is all about the artists. Look at this fantastic work that's all around me here in the art gallery currently. We're sorry that we can't all be gathering together in person, but it's fantastic that, that this can still go on. And as architects practicing in this community, we really drive our work through our values. And one of our values is supporting the communities that we live and work in. And so it really is an honor that we can be sponsors for tonight's event. Art is so important to the community and the communities that we work in. As architects that are working in the cultural sector, we're involved with artists on a daily basis. And it is great that this event is supporting the artists in the Peterborough area.
Stephen, this is a beautiful piece, lovely framed countryside image. Tell me, Stephen, tell me a bit about yourself, a bit about the piece. What's it called? How large it is? What inspires you to paint these scenes?
Yeah, I've been painting for a long time, professionally for 50 years.
Wow.
And I'm originally from Budapest, Hungary, and immigrated to Canada in the mid-1950s.
Okay.
Yeah, my education basically is through the Ontario College of Art back in the late 60s. I've been painting professionally ever since. What inspires me is just, you know, the world itself, I suppose, and the natural world. I work in an abstract way also, but at the same time I still never lost my interest in landscape. This particular piece is inspired by my walks not far from Trent University, the north end of town. Sometimes I photograph, sometimes I paint on the spot. Yeah, and it's just a combination of things, and I never know exactly how things are going to work out.
Brilliant. Beautiful. There's some beautiful detailed touches in here that just really pop out of you. The little flowers in there, or yeah.
Yeah, some wildflowers show up once in a while. I actually avoid high detail. I think sort of the looseness and the vagueness of it sometimes gives the viewer a chance to participate a little bit more than to be so specific.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Stephen, what's the piece called? How large is it?
24 by 30, I believe. And the title is Along the Sanctuary Path. It's the inspiration for this piece came from my walks along the Trent Wildlife Sanctuary.
Beautiful. Oil, acrylic?
Oil on canvas.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yes, and done last year, I believe.
Right. Wonderful. Here today with Carol Forbes. Carol is a recent addition to the studio tour, and Carol also has some pieces in the gallery store here. So Carol is also represented on the auction with this beautiful piece. Carol, tell me, what is this piece called? What medium do you work in? Tell me all about it.
Okay, well the piece is called In Between. Primarily acrylic, it has some oil pastel, charcoal. So I say mixed media because I make the marks in using a variety of tools, but I start with acrylic to lay down fields of color when I start. And I generally do not start with any idea for a painting.
Really? Okay.
I love working with the paint and the color. I love color. Well, when I started painting 10 years ago, I just left teaching psychology. And so I had had a long history of academia and explaining, the human condition, psychology and history in words. And when I left teaching, I had this great desire to just leave words behind and just get in touch with other parts of myself. And so when I paint, I'm not thinking very much about what I'm doing. It's not an analytical process. It's very intuitive and kind of mysterious how the compositions emerge. And really, I name them later. I get a sense of what the painting feels like to me and what comes up for me when I look at it. And so this piece, I named it In Between because it feels like it's in between my love of fields of color and my more recent foray into mark making. So, you can see the history there of the color, and I want to explore more of this desire to make marks. And then I think in my life, I just think it's a normal occurrence to be in between things.
We are right now. We are in between what was and what's going to now become, right? Who knows what the future is?
Who knows? So that place is, everybody can relate to that place, and that pull, of having one foot in the familiar, one foot in what feels more experimental and unknown. Just sort of my interest in human development. I like to think of that place in between as a moment where you can create something new that embraces both camps.
No. So you have no, I think you said you don't know where this is going to go when you start. You don't sort of go, I am going to have a blue piece or an orange piece.
No.
Like you just roll with it and see how it develops and emerges.
And so every painting has layers underneath, and I leave it, so I paint until something stops.
It feels right, yeah.
Yeah, and then I go away from it and I work on another piece. And it may sit for weeks, and then I come back to it, and if I don't know where to go, I leave it. And when I just come back to it when I think, yes, I know what I want to do there, what I want to take out, because there's a lot of editing, painting over.
Right.
And, I keep thinking, what does it need? What's this painting need? So, it's I know it's kind of a cliche now to say, is a kind of dialogue that happens with the painting. But what I really believe is that a painting develops a character. It's a character with a presence, at a certain stage in development. And it's important to honor that character and move with that. And whatever you take out or add in, it needs to be in tune with that character.
Wonderful. Wonderful.